Hello, this is Dr. Grande. Today I will analyze the case of Kasha Domingue. First, I'll look at the background of this case, move to the timeline of the incident, then offer my analysis. Kasha Lynn Domingue was born on August 10, 1977, and lived in the state of Louisiana. After serving in the Marines and holding a few other positions, Kasha decided to become a Louisiana State Trooper. In December 2015, she graduated from the Louisiana State Police Training Academy. This was not an easy task for her. A report indicated that she struggled both physically and mentally, failed tests, and had problems on the firing range. Instructors had misgivings about her suitability to be a trooper, and she was required to complete additional training before receiving her commission. Eventually, she was assigned to a troop in Baton Rouge. Now moving to the timeline of the incident. On July 10, 2018, at 3:02 a.m., Kasha Domingue pulled over a maroon Saturn SUV for allegedly making an illegal U-turn on Perkins Road in Baton Rouge. The stop took place near the intersection of Perkins Road and Potwin Drive, behind a store called Village Grocery. 4 men were in the Saturn SUV. The driver was a 19-year-old man named Jamal Kendall Meyer. A man named Khalif Sconers was in the passenger seat. A 19-year-old man named Clifton Scott Dilley was in the rear seat on the driver's side, and an unidentified man was in the rear seat on the passenger side. There's a bit of a mystery as far as what happened with Kasha's body camera. It was not recording that night. One report indicated the camera was defective, which is something Kasha reported to her supervisor. Another report suggested that Kasha may have failed to activate her camera. She actually had a history of doing this. The state police cruisers in Louisiana are supposed to be equipped with dashboard cameras, but Kasha's vehicle was new and had not yet had a camera installed. Fortunately, a video surveillance camera on a nearby structure captured the traffic stop. 21 seconds after Jamal was stopped by Kasha, he opened the driver's side door of the SUV. He then walked toward Kasha with his hands in the air. He can be seen giving her something. Apparently, this was his driver's license. 2 minutes and 36 seconds into the stop, Jamal started running back toward the Saturn SUV. He told everybody in the vehicle to run as he continued past. 4 seconds later, Clifton opened the driver's side rear door. He exited and started running toward Kasha's police cruiser. For some reason, Kasha produced her Glock 19 9mm pistol and shot Clifton 1 time in the back as he was running away. On the radio, she falsely reported that she had deployed her taser, saying, "I tased a guy." According to Clifton, after he was shot, he said to Kasha, "What's wrong with my legs?" She responded, "It's a taser after effect. It will wear off." 8 minutes after the shooting, other officers started arriving on the scene. 2 minutes after this, Kasha admitted to another trooper that she had actually shot Clifton with her pistol, not her taser. She claimed that she took up a defensive position on the right side of her police cruiser, went down on one knee, drew her pistol, and fired a single round. The police found 4 grams of marijuana in the Saturn SUV. The driver, Jamal, was charged with resisting an officer and possession of marijuana. He was also given a traffic citation for making an illegal U-turn. The man in the passenger seat, Khalif, remained in the vehicle the entire time. He did not run away. He told the police that Kasha told him that she had used her taser on Clifton. The unidentified man in the vehicle ran away. It's not clear what happened to him. As a result of being shot in the back, Clifton was partially paralyzed and uses a wheelchair. During the investigation that followed the shooting, Kasha continued to claim that she was acting in self-defense. She stated that Clifton ran around the Saturn and reached inside the vehicle before charging at her. The video surveillance contradicted her account. Clifton never charged at Kasha, and she never went down on one knee, as she originally stated. It was clear that Kasha shot Clifton in the back as he was running away and unarmed. Over the years, Kasha changed her story. She offered new versions, like she confused her taser and her firearm, and she pulled the trigger by accident. Investigators discovered that Kasha had used her taser on unarmed people 3 times within an 8-month period. A few hours before shooting Clifton with her pistol, Kasha had initiated another traffic stop. This one involved a vehicle that did not have a license plate. A passenger fled the scene. Kasha fired her taser at him, but missed. This makes it seem like by the time she stopped Jamal in the Saturn SUV, she was in no mood for anyone escaping. She wasn't going to let anyone get away no matter what happened. On October 1, 2020, over 2 years after shooting Clifton, Kasha was indicted for aggravated battery and illegal use of a weapon. In March 2021, she was fired from the Louisiana State Police. On September 12, 2022, Kasha Domingue pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice, which is a misdemeanor. She received a sentence of 6 months in prison and unsupervised probation for 6 months, but the prison sentence was suspended. Kasha was also permanently banned from serving in law enforcement. In October 2023, her criminal record was expunged. In Louisiana, expungement is permitted under certain circumstances, even without the offense being pardoned. Kasha has no criminal record. All the details of the criminal proceedings, including her lifetime ban from law enforcement, have been destroyed. Kasha is technically allowed to apply for a job as a police officer, although her attorney stated that Kasha has no interest in returning to law enforcement. On August 8, 2025, Clifton Scott Dilley reached an agreement with Louisiana. He will be paid $9 million, one of the largest settlements of this type in the history of the state. Now moving to my analysis. Kasha Domingue maintains her innocence, and she was never convicted of aggravated battery or illegal use of a weapon. She pleaded guilty to obstruction of justice, but that charge has been expunged. Many people are shocked by the outcome of this case and believe that Kasha should have been convicted of a more serious offense, one directly related to the shooting itself, like the aggravated battery charge. This charge is applicable when someone causes serious bodily injury with a dangerous weapon. Many have argued that this is what happened with Kasha. This brings me to the question, was Kasha guilty of aggravated battery? Let's take a look at the evidence both for and against the idea that she was guilty, starting with the inculpatory factors. When Kasha pulled Jamal over, he was the only one suspected of committing an offense, specifically an illegal U-turn. Clifton was simply a passenger in the vehicle. He was not suspected of any crime. There is no doubt that Clifton exited the SUV and started running, but he was unarmed, and he did not charge at Kasha. He ran by her, not toward her. Clifton was just trying to escape. Kasha drew her pistol and shot him one time in the back, even though she was not authorized to use deadly force under those circumstances. After the shooting, Kasha lied on the radio by saying she deployed her taser. This led to a slower response by paramedics because the call was not ranked as urgent. Kasha allegedly told the same lie to Clifton as he was on the ground, seriously wounded, and to Khalif, who remained in the passenger seat of the Saturn SUV. Kasha did not render aid to Clifton and did not admit her deception until 10 minutes after the shooting. During the investigation, Kasha offered different versions of her story, like she confused her taser and her pistol and she pulled the trigger by accident. This makes it seem like she was trying to avoid responsibility. Moving to the exculpatory factors, under the law, a passenger in a vehicle that has been stopped by the police is not free to go. They are detained just like the driver. If they walk or run away, they risk being arrested for something like resisting arrest or obstruction. Clifton did not have the right to flee the scene of the traffic stop. Kasha was within her rights as a police officer to use reasonable and proportional force to prevent his escape. Some people may view the use of a taser as reasonable under these circumstances. Kasha had used her taser a few hours earlier in a similar situation. Perhaps she intended on using her taser on Clifton, but made a mistake and retrieved her pistol instead. During the traffic stop, Kasha was alone and facing 4 men in a vehicle at night. This is a frightening situation, which would naturally place Kasha on edge. When 3 of the men started running away, this created chaos and could have caused Kasha to fear for her life. She wanted to get control over the situation. Maybe she really did believe that she needed to shoot Clifton in self-defense. After all, he was running in the direction of her police cruiser. Clifton was the only one of the 3 fleeing men to do this. The other 2 men ran away from the police cruiser. When considering all the evidence in this case, do I believe that Kasha Domingue was guilty of aggravated battery? Yes, in my opinion, she was guilty, beyond a reasonable doubt. Even if she mixed up her taser and her pistol, Kasha should have been convicted. What do I think happened in this case? This is just a theory, my opinion. Kasha was not well suited to being a police officer. She repeatedly failed to use her body camera, possibly with the intent of concealing her activity. She knew that as a trooper, her word would be deemed more credible than the citizens with whom she interacted. This advantage would be nullified if her body camera was recording. When Clifton fled the traffic stop, Kasha intended on deploying her taser, but mistakenly retrieved her pistol. Instead of taking responsibility, she immediately started lying. Kasha soon realized that it would be pretty easy for the other troopers to figure out that she used her pistol and not her taser, even without her body camera recording. It would become clear from the damage Clifton had sustained, and they would find the bullet. Still unwilling to accept responsibility, Kasha told another lie, claiming that she acted in self-defense. This lie was believable considering how 3 men ran away during the traffic stop. Kasha would have escaped the consequences of her behavior, and Clifton may have been charged with a crime if it had not been for the video surveillance. It never occurred to Kasha that she was being video recorded. She thought she took care of that situation. Now she needed to abandon her self-defense claim, which is how she ended up with the stories about confusing the taser and the firearm and accidentally pulling the trigger. The police knew that Kasha was guilty, but in Louisiana, law enforcement has a long history of corruption and bad behavior. Officers who commit crimes are frequently given a pass. This situation was no exception. Kasha was charged with aggravated battery and illegal use of a weapon, but stunningly, she was allowed to plead guilty to obstruction of justice. Later, this charge was expunged. Kasha had completely escaped any consequences for the shooting. Unfortunately, the taxpayers of Louisiana were not as lucky. They now must pay $9 million. Now moving to my final thoughts. Even given the high level of corruption with law enforcement in Louisiana, the outcome of this case is bewildering. It's hard to believe that a trooper could shoot an unarmed man in the back as he's running away, lie about it repeatedly, offer new versions of her story, and escape unscathed. The disposition of Kasha's case is inconsistent with other similar cases. For example, in 2021, a police officer in Minnesota named Kim Potter shot and killed a man who was resisting arrest. Kim believed that she had produced her taser, not her pistol. She was convicted of manslaughter and received a sentence of 2 years in prison. Kim never lied about what happened. She immediately admitted that she made a mistake. There were no mysterious circumstances surrounding her body camera, and she did not offer multiple versions of her story. If Kim's behavior warrants a serious conviction, how is it that Kasha can walk away without penalty? Perhaps a trooper with mysterious body camera issues, poor judgment, and a penchant for lying should not be given a pass. Those are my thoughts on the case of Kasha Domingue. Thank you so much for watching. I'll talk to you soon.